Welcome to the commentary booth, where we watch, and you guessed it, commentate on the week that was in movies and TV. I'm your host and play-by-play commentator, Jamie Apps. Each week, I'll be joined by a rotating cast of colour commentators to help you find your next viewing treat. This week, I'm joined by a teacher and travel blogger who's now allowed out of the house again. He lists his favourite movie as Fight Club and favourite TV show as Band of Brothers. Welcome back to the show, the dog father, Buddy McClelland.
Thank you for having me. I'm actually not allowed to go back out of the house now anyway. Little dog hasn't had her vaccine, so I'm not allowed out really until she's allowed out.
Yeah, that's fair. The joys of all of that stuff.
You think one pandemic's not enough, but apparently there's a whole dog virus out there too.
Oh yeah, there's a whole heap of dog viruses that you don't want a puppy to get right from the start.
I didn't know. It sounded really horrible too, so I'm glad we found that out before we took her for walks or anything. Because we were really excited just to take her straight down the beach, but we can't.
That's
yeah,
the last place
she's
you
an
want to
inside dog while we're inside people.
That's fair enough. At least it's a good time to sort of be there all the time and get the whole potty training and all of that stuff out of the way.
Yeah, it's good. It's hard though because you don't really get a break from it, or you really want them to be. They're really cute when they're asleep, so you really want to tire them out and get them just to fall asleep. But it's hard to do that in a little space. So it'll be nice when we can take her down the beach and just run her ragged and then bring her back for food and sleep. So that would be good. But really cute, a nice distraction.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think the best part about puppies though is they're crazy for 20 minutes and then they'll sleep for 3 hours.
Yeah, definitely. I think the hard thing for us though, with other people that are probably getting locked down pets as well. It was something we always wanted to do, but it just kind of sped the process up because we were going to travel and things. But obviously we had to can that. We were due to go back to Europe, but couldn't do it. So we thought we may as well take the next step and just get our little puppy that we've always wanted. But for her, I think the trick isn't going to be so much the training, which is probably the usual hard part for people. I think the hard thing for her is going to be the separation at the end of the lockdown. Because she's going to think we're just always here all the time. And the socialising her with other dogs, because you can't really get her to play group or whatever really easy at the moment. I think some places have them set up where you just drop the dog off and the dogs hang out and you can pick them up, but that's something we've got to work out.
Yeah. I think the end of it when everyone does go back to work is going to be real hard.
Yeah, I'm going to try and
do
do
all the time, and now we're not here at all.
Yeah, exactly. So I think luckily for us teaching, it's kind of we'll ease back into a little bit. At the moment, I'm working 1 day a week. So that at least is a little kind of indicator of me going out and coming back. And we get school holidays and stuff as well. So hopefully, depending on how we go back to work, it'll be an ease in rather than just a straight work.
Yeah. How's the nighttime situation? She's jumping in the bed, or are you doing the crate training?
I've heard that if you put them in the bed straight away, then you're never going to get them out of the bed. I'm very wary of it. So we have a little bed set up next to us. So if she kind of cries or whatever in the night, you just put your hand down and just kind of give her a pat and let her know you're there. And then she jumps up in the morning sometimes. But yeah, I would love to have her up there, but I would love to also be able to get her off there. So prefer to start her on the ground.
Yeah, we've now got Toby and Kiki. They stay in their beds now. But at the start when Kiki had been used to sleeping in the bed, so that first few weeks was a nightmare.
Yeah, so it's going to be a mission. I think a lot of
every 10 minutes you're just putting them back in their bed. Get back in your bed.
Yeah, exactly. She hasn't been too bad, to be honest. She's good at going to the bathroom and doesn't wake up too much. But I'm not good in the mornings, so I've got to lift my game.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So what have you been checking out?
I actually set up in COVID my little man cave. I'm not allowed to call it a man cave. Study space in here.
Office. Office.
It's my Xbox and a little screen behind me and my office. Thank you. My Xbox and screen and stuff. But we actually went and bought the TV that I got. It was a really cheap sort of a big screen, but cheaper, which used to be okay before they were smart TVs.
Yep.
I didn't really think about it. Bought a bigger screen. It was a Bingley brand. TV screen is good, but I didn't think about the computer in it. It's not that great. So when I removed the Xbox off of it, it's really slow when you try and load things. So I bought an Apple TV, one of the 4K Apple TVs, and stuck it out there.
Yep.
And it's awesome. And it's put me back into a lot of the free-to-air sort of streaming services, which I really like. I haven't really been looking at the 10 plays or the 9 nows or the whatever, or watching commercial TV for ages because it was just too difficult. But the thing that the Apple TV does really well is you can kind of go on a search and it searches across its apps.
Yep.
So rather than me having to look in Netflix if the movie's in there and then look in Stan and look at whatever, you just search whatever and it'll pop up and I can watch a lot of things. So I started watching some commercial TV again, which has been good because I knew the new season of Australian Survivor had been on. I love Survivor. I kind of let it bleed out enough that it's now at like 16 episodes and I'm kind of 5 in and just going every night there's a new episode of Survivor for me, which I really like. So this season, it's on 10 play.
Yep.
And like I said, I've been watching it on the Apple TV, but it's a Brains versus Brawn season. So they've got 2 tribes at the moment where I'm up to. 2 tribes at the moment, one with Brains, so a GP doctor, like... there's a lawyer in there, there's like a scientist, an author, an artist, all that sort of stuff. And on the other side, they've got brawn, so people that are, there's an MMA fighter, female professional MMA fighter, a female big wave surfer, they've got bodybuilders, like all sorts of stuff, completely split. So, interesting, and I'm enjoying it so far. There's actually a guy from Dapto that's in it. Yeah, Andrew, I think Euclid's his last name might be. Yeah, and I remember watching him on Facebook when he used to do his videos. He'd go out the back of Dapto and catch tiger snakes with his bare hands.
Yeah.
So interesting to see him on there, and I fully thought they'd put him in the brawn side of things, but they put him in the brain side. He's not a massive guy, but I mean, yeah, not where I would have placed him, but it definitely looks handy. He's a survival expert, so handy to have him.
He's definitely the bloke you want on your team.
Yeah, and cool, like a really nice little local shout out to the Illawarra. There's someone in there. That, so it's been really good. I've been enjoying watching each night the new Survivor, but I can't help but think they're really trying to play on the brains versus brawn thing a bit too much. Yep. Some of the challenges are clearly set up for people that are massive, and some of them are clearly set up for people that have no physical ability and just puzzles, and they kind of don't mix them together. At least at the start, they don't mix them together a lot. So I almost go into it knowing who's going to win the reward challenges or the immunity challenge when they just show you what the challenge is. Like you can be like, if it's a wrestling match, you know that the brawn people are going to win.
Yep.
They've got to divide it up from now. And I know they mix the tribes up eventually, but yeah, for the start, it's been nice to watch Survivor. Obviously, they're doing it in Australia this year, so it's in the outback. I'm not sure whereabouts, but it's out deep bush somewhere. So nice to watch an Australian Survivor in Australia, and just having a whole season ready to go and stream is really good. And they've got a lot better with their ads on 10 Play too. It used to be like, if you wanted to catch up on an episode and skip to the middle, you had to watch the 8 or 10 ads that you like owed them for in the different breaks.
Oh, so it was just all condensed in the end.
Yeah, so like if I wanted to catch up at the last part of the episode, I had to watch 4.5 minutes of ads to get to where it was. But now it's kind of realised what it was doing and just makes you watch a couple. So it's made the whole thing more bearable. Yeah, really enjoyed it on their app, and yeah, it's nice to watch Survivor again.
Is the 10 Play app, does that still work now that Paramount Plus is out?
Works on the Apple TV, yeah. Okay. I got Paramount Plus, I saw it, but I was like, oh, it hasn't quite got me across the line.
Okay, yeah, so on that, I got it, because I got the week trial, and then, because I wanted to watch the new Mark Wahlberg movie that's on there, called Infinite. So I was like, right, I'll jump in. I'll get this Paramount Plus app for the 7-day free trial. And like, there isn't a huge amount on there at the moment in terms of like fresh content. So Infinite was the main one I wanted to watch. There's a couple of others on there. I can't remember what the shows are called, but there's a couple of others. But then it's mainly like old MTV and Nickelodeon stuff. So like, what have you got? You've got like Angry Beavers, Rocket Power. Cat Dog's on there.
Oh, I'm tempted.
All of the Jackass movies and shows, the Dudesons.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't push me across for a streaming service.
Yeah, Ridiculousness.
Interesting to see they brought it back.
Yeah, like I think once they start to like get a bit of momentum and start to have fresh content, it'll be worth the $89.99 or something for the year. So I think it's $8.99 a month, or you can pay $89.99 to get the year.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'll just do the year, and if it's still crap after a year, then I'll
Move.
toss it.
Very bold move.
Yeah. I did the same with Disney as well. I was like, I'm just going to buy the year because you end up getting basically 2 months for free. So
Yeah. How do you feel about the way they're releasing films now where you go, like, I've been dying to watch Cruella. Then I go on there and Disney Plus has it, but then you've got to also pay the $35.
for some, I don't mind it. Like the big Marvel ones and Cruella, I actually really did enjoy Cruella and paid the $35. It's good because once you pay it, you have it. Like you don't have to worry about
It's not like a
paying
rental.
for it again. Yeah, it's a purchase. So once you get it, you have it. And I think, like for you, it probably wouldn't be too bad because like if you and Anne could go to the movies, you would probably spend about that much anyway on a night at the movies.
Yeah, but I'm paying for the experience at the movies. We drove past one the other day, and I thought, wonder if they'll come back after all this. Like, I wonder if people will still want to sit near each other and watch a movie. But the experience was part of it, getting out of the house and being forced to not be on your phone and just watch something different thing.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure they are going to come back because after Black Widow just came out recently, Scarlett Johansson's suing Disney over that release.
I heard that. Yeah, wasn't she getting a certain amount of the box office?
Yeah, so her contract was for it to be released in cinemas. And because it wasn't, she doesn't get that cut of the ticket sales. So now she's suing them over that with a breach of contract. So
I feel like good on her, but I also
don't think she'll
feel
be
like
the last either.
Like she's getting 1.4 million instead of 3.8 million. Like you're still getting millions. Like and I'd be angry if it was me, but it's hard for me as a common man to sit here and think I feel bad for her.
Yeah, it's just going to be an interesting situation.
There's a few of them now too. Like I saw the Rock's new one, Welcome to the Jungle. No.
Yep. Jungle Cruise.
Jungle Cruise.
Yep. Based on the ride.
I saw that one. Yeah, I saw there's a few of them doing that now. Black Widow I saw did it. So I've been tempted a few times, but then I always think if I just sit here long enough, it'll be released for free. So,
yeah, like I'm doing that with Jungle Cruise. Like I've heard good things about it, but it's really not one that is really enticing me all that much. I'm like, I'll just wait and save the $35 for the next big Marvel one that I'm gonna be keen to watch anyway. So
yeah, if they pull Top Gun out, I'll do it.
Oh yeah, I'm so keen for that Top Gun movie.
Funny.
Yeah. So back to like that Mark Wahlberg one. I watched it because I like Mark Wahlberg movies. They're pretty obvious what's going to happen. Like there's nothing overly shocking. But this one has Mark Wahlberg is a dude that just like has all these weird dreams and visions and he doesn't know why. And then he comes to find out that kind of like, you know, the Assassin's Creed game where you can tap into past lives. Basically, that's what he is. He's someone that his spirit or his mind remembers all of his past lives of all time. So he has all those skills, like he can make a samurai sword and he doesn't know how he knows how to make a samurai sword. He just does. And then he comes to learn that there's this whole group of people called Infinites who have the same ability. They all remember every single one of their past lives. But one of these guys has gone rogue and decided that he's sick of remembering everything and being like cognizant as soon as he's reincarnated in the womb, and then he has to sit there for 9 months before he can actually do anything. So he's decided, I'm just going to destroy everything and everyone and blow this all up. And then Mark Wahlberg has to try and stop him. Pretty predictable, crazy sci-fi action flick, which I kind of expected going in. I didn't expect this to be anything that was like, oh, this is breaking my mind, like a Tenet or something like that.
Yeah, somewhere on a Mark Wahlberg contract it says must look cool.
He looks cool. He does look cool. He rides motorbikes. He fights people with samurai swords. He shoots people.
It's not the realistic one though, is it? Like someone that's come back to life and your past life you made the yellow pages and you know how to make a yellow pages book and then before that, you were pretty good at dominoes. So
Yeah, he has
it's
all the
always
cool
someone
jobs.
cool that can make a samurai sword.
Yeah. Yeah, and like he's what was I gonna say? It's not like grounded like Shooter was.
Yeah.
And like movies like that, it's just over the top, insane. And then I came to learn that Chris Evans was originally cast in the role, but then because he started filming the Apple TV show called Defending Jacob, he had to pull out. So then they jumped into Mark Wahlberg and like, here you go, you can remember the past life of Chris Evans. That's now you.
Good.
So like, I enjoyed the movie. Probably wouldn't have watched it if Paramount Plus didn't exist, or unless it came to one of the other services. So,
is it worth getting Paramount Plus for?
If you want to use the 7-day free trial to watch it,
so no.
probably not the $8.99, $89.99. And then I watched a lot of movies this week actually. The other big one that I watched was the new one on Apple TV Plus, CODA.
I've seen it, haven't watched it.
Watch it. Definitely watch it. So good. It was incredible. And it's about a girl who, she works on a fishing boat with her brother and dad. But she is the only person in her family that isn't deaf. So her mum, her brother, and her dad are all deaf. She's not, and she loves to sing. So, and I think it's because she's grown up around people that can't hear her sing, so she just does it at home and is actually like really good and doesn't know. So she decides that, you know what, I'm going to join the school choir because I love singing and I just want to do that. So she does that and finds out that she's really good, and her music teacher starts to coach her to apply for college for singing scholarships. And then it goes into like the battle that she has with, do I stay at home and help my family, who obviously need someone that can sign and help them with the fishing jobs, because on the boat they have to have someone that can hear to operate the radio and everything. Or does she go and chase her dream of being a singer and going to college and having like a somewhat normal life? And I think the coolest part about the movie is the 3 actors that play her family are actually all deaf actors. So it just added like this real sense of realism to the movie that probably wouldn't have been there if they just picked, here's 3 megastars that we're going to put in this movie.
I think I really, really love at the moment, like coming from a special ed teaching background, that movement. And remember we talked about Peanut Butter Falcon?
Yep. And
they had the actor who has Down syndrome come in and play the character. I just love that we're past that stage where you would hire actors to pretend to be someone with a disability, and people with disabilities are actually getting a shot to be themselves in a film. It's just a really good direction to be moving in.
Oh, it adds that like I said, sense of realism. Like you can tell that these people, the way they act, they're not pretending. Like this is just how it is. Like they know what it feels like to be around people that are not hearing impaired and how they get treated. So they know exactly how they should act.
Yeah.
And the way it like handles sound to give you that sense as well. So they have a scene where she's singing on the stage in the school choir, and it starts with you from the perspective of just the general audience. And then partway through it switches to the perspective of her parents and her brother. And the sound just like fades away to nothing. And you just sit there in silence while they watch her and they look around at people and like realize that, hey, she must be good because all these people are like clapping and smiling, and there's a lady in the front row crying. And they're just like, oh, yeah, this is obviously something special.
You wouldn't know, would you, living in a house with people who are deaf and singing all the time? You would know if you're good or not.
Yeah, like that. The opening scene is just like her on the boat singing, just like happy, and her parents, her dad and brother are just unawares. They're just business as usual.
That's a good one to check out.
Oh, definitely. Like it had me almost crying at the end. Like it's was a very emotional film at the end.
As my mum would say, getting your threepence worth. If you cry in a film, you're getting your money's worth.
Good. Sounds right. Have you seen the movie The Sound of Metal as well on Amazon?
No.
So it's the same sort of thing. It's all about hearing impairment and a drummer who starts to go deaf, and then he has to deal with those issues.
Yeah.
So there's lots of movies like this now, and I definitely recommend checking this one and Sound of Metal out.
That's good. I like that idea. I like those sorts of films.
Yeah, and you've got Apple TV Plus now too, don't you?
I do. Well, because I got the Apple TV, I got myself into Apple TV Plus.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw that on there. There's been a few really good shows on there. Like you can really see that Apple TV's got the budget.
Oh yeah, very.
And it shows in the quality of the stuff that they make.
Their movies are great. So, CODA, Cherry was really good. Greyhound's pretty good. Like if you're into a war movie.
New TV show that I'm about to start. I was going to tell you about Mythic Quest that I've been watching on there, but there's another new show. I forgot the name of it. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is in it, and it's about a school teacher that wishes he was a rock star, and he's in school teaching. It looks really, really good too. So I can't remember the name of it.
Mr. Corman.
Mr. Corman. There you go. Yeah.
It's weird. It's real weird.
Okay. Yeah, Joseph Gordon-Levitt is a bit weird, but I kind of like that about him.
I think the second and third episode felt like I was on acid.
Oh, okay.
So that kind of weird.
Okay. Well, look, you're in a purple room, so.
What other show? Have you watched the Morning Wars? I think it's called in Australia.
Oh, I've been hooked on Mythic Quest.
Yep. What are you thinking of that?
That one. So that's following the people that are making like a World of Warcraft knockoff, but a massive online multiplayer role-playing game. But I love it. Like I've found that it is just, to me, especially with Danny Pudi in it, just really gives me the vibe of the new version of Community. And I used to really love Community as a show. And it's just that same silly, you never know what each episode's going to do, lighthearted sort of a vibe. Really enjoyed watching that. I've gone through a whole season of that in probably a week and a bit. So, yeah, it's good. I enjoy watching. I find it really funny. And it's a funny take. Like, when you look at it at first, like, you think it's going to be all about nerds and gaming and video games and stuff, but they find ways to tie in different types of characters. And even when it feels like they've even got that Chevy Chase sort of older character in as the guy that writes all the backstories for them.
Yep.
It feels like they've just taken Community and gone, what worked? Let's just put that over here in the context of making a video game.
Yep.
And to be honest, for me, like, it still works. So I'm happy.
Yeah, I finished season 2 this week as well.
Okay.
So I'm a whole season in front of you, but
yeah, I think so.
It's awesome. What did you think of the last couple of episodes of season 1 where they were clearly sort of touching on the COVID pandemic situation?
I liked it, being conveniently enough for me, because I obviously watched it a bit late, that we are in a lockdown and everything's back on Zoom and all the rest of it. So for me, it was a nice to be able to watch it out. The way that they touched on it, and like that they hated COVID, and the funny things that they did in the video calls where they were like pushing things across and grabbing chips from each other and all sorts of stuff. Like, it just made light of it, which I really like, because I really found myself in this lockdown particularly. I don't know about you, but for this lockdown particularly, it's really kind of felt a lot harder, especially sort of the 6 to 7 weeks in stage. I'm kind of just like finding myself leaning towards anything on streaming services that is lighthearted.
Yep. Yeah, so
Mythic Quest, lighthearted about COVID made it even better.
Yep. Yeah, this lockdown's been tough.
Yeah, like, it's just dragging, and it doesn't seem like it's getting better. So for them to be doing stuff that's funny and light, and that'll lead me to my next thing that I was watching that we've been going through. Don't ask me why. I guess the same thing, but we've been watching all of the sort of. I've watched all of the Despicable Me's recently. I've watched the Shrek movies recently. I've watched like all the Pixars, all the Toy Stories. And I think I've just deep down somewhere been looking for things that are just nice and happy and have no risk of being sad, because everything else is sad. Mm-hmm. So I kind of have been doing that, which led us into Anne really loves the Beatrix Potter books.
Yep.
So Peter Rabbit 2 was out, so we rented that. I really enjoyed it. Like, it was the exact same thing. It was nice, lighthearted. Funny enough, the characters in the film are cute little bunny rabbits and badgers and stuff like that. And this film puts them in the city, with Beatrix Potter releasing, or B they call it, releasing like a new book and having it all monetized, and having a company try and take her idea and twist it into rabbits in space and all sorts of silly little things. But I think they do a good job of having that balance of kids movie with enough little innuendo and things like that to make it enjoyable for an adult to watch. So we're an adult couple that doesn't have a child, but I was quite happy watching it, and it just took me somewhere that was nice and funny for a little while.
Do you think it lived up to the first one?
To be honest with you, I didn't rate the first one that high. So in my opinion, yes. I actually found the second one to be more enjoyable for me than someone that didn't really get into the books or anything as a kid. I enjoyed the second one more. I think it just was an easy story to follow. I just found it made me happy enough. So I found it really weird though, every time we were looking at it online, it named every other actor and actress or all the actors that are in it. They never mentioned James Corden.
That's weird.
Look at it when you go online and see the names that are on there, and for some reason, even though he's Peter Rabbit, in the movie Peter Rabbit, they don't put his name on there.
I wonder if he chose to not be credited or something, so that people didn't
he's
watch
definitely not the biggest name
him.
actor in there.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't realize that.
But I enjoyed it. Like for a kids movie, to be able to sit there and watch it, and like I said, I'm just leaning towards those things at the moment that are nice. So it was a nice little transportation away. It's not going to win any giant awards or anything, but it was just a nice, light-hearted film.
Yep. I think the motion, the graphics might have won some sort of award.
Okay, yeah, they were pretty good.
Because apparently they're really good, and they were done in Sydney.
Oh wow! Okay, yeah, we're a long way from the old Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Space Jam cartoon days.
Yep.
I still haven't watched the new Space Jam actually. I saw that up for rent, but then I saw all the reviews and it kind of Rotten Tomatoes hammered it. So I was like, oh, I don't want to pay.
Yeah, wait for that one to hit a streaming service.
Okay.
I think Animal Logic, did you ever watch Spicks and Specs?
Yep.
So they did the intro title and everything for Spicks and Specs.
Okay.
And then they've gone on to do Peter Rabbit.
Wow.
So they've grown a lot recently.
Yeah, huge.
And on the animal movie front, I watched another Australian film called Rams on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
It stars Michael Keaton and Sam Neill as two brothers who live on a farm side by side, but there's a fence down the middle because they've had a falling out. And they now no longer talk to each other, so they're like rival sheep farmers trying to breed the best prize-winning ram. But then, as they go to the county fair or whatever it is, and put their rams up for judging, and Michael Keaton's ram wins, but then Sam Neill goes to after the show, goes to have a look at this ram to find out, scope it out, see why it won, and he discovers that it has this rare disease that kills basically any sheep that catches it. And then that leads to him essentially dobbing his brother in, saying that he has this disease, which then leads to every sheep in the valley that they live in having to be destroyed.
Sheep farmers.
Yeah, all sheep farmers in this Western Australian valley, and all the sheep have to be destroyed. But Sam Neill sneakily takes a ram and 3 ewes and hides them inside his house. So then it's all about him having these 3 or 4 sheep just hidden in his house, and his brother discovers it, and then that sort of brings them back together as hey, we have the remaining of this rare breed of sheep, the only 4 left in all of Australia, and they go to defy everyone against them and just try to keep them alive, and it brings them back together. It was really nice.
Except that they're the ones that cause the virus to spread everywhere, and everyone else loses their sheep, and they keep
Yep.
them.
Yeah,
Their
but
relationship's better, so cop that on the farmers.
yeah, it's sort of it felt
I
very
like them as
much.
actors. They're both really good. Like I find them any film that I've ever really watched with either of them in there, I find them really easy to watch.
Yep. Yeah, it's like it sort of had similar vibes to like Babe and obviously The Castle.
Yeah.
They both do have really great performances, and I think it could have been a slightly shorter movie though. Like it drags along in the middle portion.
Yeah.
But the rest of it, like the start and the very end, is so like touching and heartwarming. It's one of those ones where it feels like it could get really sad, but they keep it lighthearted and funny enough that it doesn't. It feels you feel pretty happy at the end.
Are through Thruppensworth again?
Not quite. Not quite. No. CODA's the only one that got that for me.
But
and then you had one more that you were watching.
oh yeah, I've been yeah. So same thing on that commercial streaming service vibe that I've been watching, The 100 with Andy Lee. So new show that they've got him on, and I'm a massive Hamish and Andy fan at the best of times anyway. So whatever they do, I'll give it a fair crack. Different show, like they obviously something that they can work a lot of people into with COVID and Zoom. So they've got Andy sitting in a sort of a game show scenario with 3 celebrities, usually a couple of comedians mixed in there. I think that's Sophie Monk in as one of the celebrity guests for another time. And they ask this giant screen. It's got 100 different Australians, and they say that they've done their best to get a complete cross section of Australian society. So basically 100 people on Zoom sitting there in their living rooms, and it shows you when they get pulled up where they're from. And they ask them different questions and try and get the percentage, obviously out of 100, of how many people do certain things. The celebrities guess what they think their answer to that percentage would be, and whoever gets the closest gets the points. So it's an interesting thing to watch because they take turns at almost doing really serious questions or really funny questions.
Mm-hmm.
So like in the first episode, one of them was percentage of you who look in the toilet after you poo before you flush. You reckon?
Probably 60%.
About 85%.
Wow.
So most people, and it's like the other 15, I'm like, surely you look. Everybody looks. But it's good health practice, look.
I was going to say, you're
But
supposed
they look
to
at it, so
look
they can vote, and if they're embarrassed about something, they can vote anonymously. So that way they try and get more of an honest answer.
Yep.
And if they want to talk about something, they can vote with a button that says, like, put their hand up, and then Andy every now and then will pick somebody out to have a chat about why they answered a certain one. So like a serious one, they asked percentage of Australians that are anti-vaxxers.
Oh,
You reckon?
I hope it's low. I hope it's only like 10%, but I'm going to be surprised that it's higher, around there.
2%.
Oh, even better.
Yeah, it's a noisy 2%, but it's 2%.
It's very noisy 2%.
Yeah. So they do stuff like that. And then so the whole game is they go backwards and forwards, talk to people. Easy to watch. I enjoy it. It's funny watching the people that they bring up, and they've started doing different little things. Obviously, they probably didn't get maybe the ratings that they wanted in the first show or the feedback they wanted from the first show. So they seem to adapt the show, and like they'll get people in the audience on the 100 to bring out the most expensive thing that they own in their house, and then they get the celebrities to try and pick who has the most expensive thing, get a couple of backstories. Basically, it feels like they put Andy in a situation where he's pretty much doing his radio show on Zoom.
Okay, yep.
Which for him it's a good thing. I really like him. I think he's probably a bit underrated. Out of like Hamish obviously gets a lot of credit about being funny, but I think that Andy's quite capable by himself, and this has been pretty good. He's pretty good at handling awkward topics. So at the end, whichever celebrity or whichever comedian wins gets to ask any question that they want of the 100, just because they're interested in whatever it is. So that's their prize. Some of the questions get pretty interesting. The last episode I watched, she asked, how many of you have photos or messages from an ex that you're hiding from your current partner?
Oh.
You reckon?
It's probably a lot higher than you would think. Probably like 70%.
22%.
Oh. was low.
1 in 5 people is hiding something from an ex at their house.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know. But they were like, we're not going to talk to anyone about that. So good night.
Good. Didn't want to get anyone in trouble.
Yeah. So interesting. It's a different way to approach it. And I guess it's a good way to keep game shows and stuff going via Zoom and having other people involved. Obviously, there's no audience, but they've kind of made the audience the show. So, yeah, I enjoy it. It's, like I said, I'll watch anything those two do, but it's nice to see Indy out there doing it and show.
Yeah, definitely sort of like the perfect show for the COVID times where they can still produce it the way they want to without needing 100 people in a studio.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because you really focus in on some of the people. Like, there was a lady that drank a whole jug of coffee during the thing and was like buzzing by the end of it. And there was someone that had a caribou head behind them, and you really get a weird cross section.
I noticed that show took the place of another show. It took the place of The Weakest Link with Magda Szubanski as the host.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I know why.
Yeah, I never watched it. I mean, you never get the original Weakest Link lady. Not that I can remember who she was, but I remember she was the show. Like, you can't recreate that.
Yeah, she was savage, and this one was. Magda doesn't fit that sort of role as a savage host. She's too nice and funny, but she was trying to be that mean host. Yeah. And it just didn't work. And watching the show, there was heaps of commercials and heaps of talking, but not many questions. So it was I felt like I watched a minute of questions for every 4 minutes of talking or ads.
Yeah,
I was just like, yeah, I'm over this. And then 2 weeks later, it was replaced by The 100. I was like, yeah, I know why they dumped that show.
Ironic, there's The Weakest Link is now The Weakest Link.
The Weakest Link. And then the last thing I watched was, I streamed it actually. I streamed myself watching AEW Rampage, The First Dance, purely because my favorite wrestler of all time was returning to wrestling for the first time in 7 years. So CM Punk came back, debuted in his hometown of Chicago to the most ridiculous reception I've ever seen a wrestler get. It was so loud. And in the lead up to this show, they never explicitly promoted him as coming back. They never once said his name. They never once directly mentioned him. They just had on the show, they'd have some of the wrestlers wearing Cookie Monster shirts because in the past he's said the CM stands for Cookie Monster. Or they'll have a shirt that says Chick Magnet because he said that that's what the CM stands for. Another wrestler said that when I get to Chicago, I want to go against anybody who thinks they're the best in the world, which was always CM Punk's tagline. So they never explicitly said, come to Chicago on this date because CM Punk is coming back, but they still sold out the shirt. They sold out 15,000 tickets without ever explicitly saying he was coming back.
Must take it out of the crowd.
Oh yeah, it's wrestling with the crowd now is so when it wasn't there, I was like, no, these shows are not too bad. And now that it's back, I'm like, oh yeah, these shows missed having the live crowd. So yeah, if you are a wrestling fan, that's definitely one to watch. And he's having his first match in just over a week and a half, September 5th, against Darby Allin, who's this rising star of AEW, paints half of his face like a skull. It's going to be a match that I'll be invested in just because of the 2 characters involved. And
how old is CM Punk now?
He would be I think he's 34. I found out today, he's the same age as Hulk Hogan when Hulk Hogan jumped from WWE to WCW and joined the NWO and became evil Hogan. But
let's hope he doesn't go that far.
Looking at CM Punk, he looks so much younger than evil Hogan ever did. So
yeah.
I think he's going to be fine. He's gone from.
I think evil Hogan had some wild days.
Oh yeah, definitely. Straight edge Punk, not so much.
Yeah.
But like during, even like, it was like the perfect debut. Like I couldn't have predicted it to do any better. Like they didn't stuff around and try and hold out till the end of the show. They just went, we know what everyone's here for. Let's immediately kick it off with CM Punk's debut. Music plays, crowd goes nuts. He comes out, gets onto the stage, and you can see like how much it meant to him. Like he starts like tearing up and everything, like because it has been 7 years since he's been in front of a crowd that was that rabid and that excited for him. Like he hasn't done any wrestling since he left WWE. So then he walks down, he has this promo. The very first words he says is, hopefully I can be as good. Hopefully this crowd can be as good, make me feel like Britt Baker did in Pittsburgh, which was her hometown the week before. So like it just did a great job of him like immediately putting praise on their young stars and their upcoming stars. And then he had a couple of little subtle digs at WWE. Basically said, in 2005 when I left Ring of Honor, which was a previous promotion, in 2005 he went to WWE. Basically said, in 2005 I left pro wrestling, and now in 2021 I'm coming back, which is like a dig at WWE, because even they say that they're not pro wrestling. They say they're sports entertainment. And then at the end, he gave everyone at the show ice cream bars, which was another dig at WWE because he wanted CM Punk ice cream bars and wanted them to make them, and they refused to make them. So he just went and made them himself and gave one to everyone in the crowd.
You watched the rest of the show after he was done?
Mm-hmm.
It feel weird like having the encore at the start and then...
A little bit, but they sort of followed it up with three really good matches that were exciting but short. Like they didn't drag on and make it feel like the show was dragging on. Rampage is only an hour show, so it's a quick, easy one. But they had a tag team match that was like fast paced and high flying and got out of the way pretty quick with the team Jurassic Express getting over, and they got big start like rising stars in that team. We had Jade Cargill, who's just like this domineering beast of a woman who just destroyed the girl she was going against, Kiera Hogan. And then the main event was Jon Moxley, who's like an established major star, former AEW world champion. He went against a young guy who's only 22, Daniel Garcia, in a quick but solid match that made Daniel Garcia look like a star as well. So now the attention turns to obviously the pay-per-view on September 5th, but there's also rumors that the next big free agent is on his way to AEW as well. Bryan Danielson, who's another one of my favorites from wrestling before he went to WWE. So he was an indie star who got to the point where he was full-time as an indie wrestler. He wasn't doing any full-time like proper work outside of wrestling. He was purely a wrestler on the indie scene. He has my favorite all-time match against Samoa Joe in Ring of Honor back in like 2004. So like I'm excited to see him come, and he'll probably be debuting in October when AEW hosts a show at Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York, the major tennis US Open stadium. So like they're making waves. They're right up there now with WWE, who the day after CM Punk debuted, WWE had their second biggest show of the year, SummerSlam, and from all reports, everybody hated it. So it's like
they've had a good run.
After seeing what AEW did with CM Punk, and then they followed it up by having a wrestler, Becky Lynch, return and immediately destroying the women's world champion in 6 seconds or something. Everyone was just like, wait, you just built this girl up all year, made her the champion, and then she lost in 6 seconds. It's like, what was the point of the last 6 months? And so that's everything I've checked out this week. I've had too much time.
Yeah, pretty much me done. The puppy life now.
Yep. What's your top recommendation for the week?
I would probably say, just on the line of still getting on to those positive films, I enjoyed Peter Rabbit as just nice, easy viewing. I'd say Peter Rabbit or Mythic Quest for me, just to keep things positive.
Yeah, I second Mythic Quest. That's a very like underrated and underappreciated show on Apple TV, I think. For me, obviously, the one where I got my thruppence worth.
Hey.
CODA. You got to check out CODA if you've got Apple TV Plus. I think it alone is worth the monthly subscription cost.
Yeah, I think Apple TV is definitely worth it for me.
Yep. And then, even if you're not like a hardcore wrestling fan, like if you're just a casual fan who checks it out every now and then, jump on YouTube, watch the CM Punk debut. There's 2 videos. I think it's about 15 minutes total. They're up at like 5 million views already. They ranked 1 and 2 on YouTube over the weekend of all the videos uploaded. So it's just a cool one to see just how special wrestling can be when it's done the right way. Thank you for listening to the commentary booth. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on podcast services. Here on Twitch, we're trying to get to 20 followers by the end of the month. And on YouTube as well, where we post the archives afterwards. You can follow Buddy on Instagram at a.b_CSEE and check out all the upcoming dog spam that I'm sure is going to be there since he can't travel.
At Lady.Graham, she's got her own.
Oh, God, of course she does. Between you and Leah and dogs, I'm following half a dozen Instagram accounts now.
It's cute. It's happy. It's nice. Get around it.
And you can follow me on social media at Jamie Apps Media and at Pario Magazine. New issue out very soon. The Commentary Booth is a fan-funded production of Jamie Apps Media. You can support the podcast alongside the magazine Pario Magazine on Patreon at patreon.com/Jamie Apps Media. The following people supported at our community support group level, and you cannot fathom how incredibly appreciative we are for their support. Brian and June Hart, Courtney Paulson, Jackson Carr, Tracy Apps. Alrighty, that's the show for the week. Thank you.
Thank you.